I am so delighted, you guys, to introduce my friend Taiwan Scott. Taiwan Scott, I met him about a year and a half ago when I moved to Hilton Head, Bluffton area. And it was in the context of choice of food. And he was the first person that reached out to me. But Taiwan is not about food necessarily, guys. He has represented, entrepreneurs. He's encouraged entrepreneurship on the island for the African American community. And I'm going to dig a little deeper into his mission and what it is that he's been doing. He was just featured recently in the 12 Black People to Know in this area. And welcome, Tai, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Raju, for having me. It's a pleasure to be a part of what you do. You do so much, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive right into who you are, Tai, why people who are listening to this podcast, typically leaders in their own right, entrepreneurs, want to be entrepreneurs, and all from all walks of life. And your story is inspiring, and we'll get into that. So tell them a little bit about why they should be listening to this conversation.
Well, I'm originally from East Orange, New Jersey. My family is from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Here, I've been coming to Hilton Head as long as I can remember, spending summers here with my grandmother. And always just loved the island feel, the island vibe. Growing up in East Orange was pretty much the brick city, concrete everywhere. And, came down here to Hilton Head for the summers, and, I would kick my shoes off and run around barefoot. And first job was right here on Hilton Head, and just learned how to swim in the creeks of Hilton Head. So this has always been home for me. I just always loved Hilton Head and the experience of the Gullah culture, just the communal living feel of being a part of Hilton Head.
So you said Gullah culture, and I've been coming to the island for 30 plus years myself, pretty much every year. And so I had no clue until I read your stories and got to know you over the past 18 months about what all this is about. And oh my God, it's like, we'll come as tourists. We spend a week and we have a good time, either, being on the beach, golfing, doing all the different things. Now I hesitate to play golf on a particular course, but we'll, wow. So tell the audience about the Gullah culture.
Well, the Gullah culture, Gullah-Geechee, they call, we're part of a historical area that actually Congress designated as the Gullah-Geechee Heritage Corridor that extends from Wilmington, I believe it's Wilmington, North Carolina, down to Jacksonville, Florida. And it's basically the area that's along the coast that's 30 miles from the coast. And we can trace our lineage, our heritage back to West Africa. So we have been able to retain, because we're in the areas where it's isolated islands, here in Hilton Head, and we were able to retain a lot of the culture from Africa, as far as foods and using the river to survive, and planting and things of that nature. So it's one of the cultures here that's definitely has a huge impact when it comes down to the history of the United States. And being here on Hilton Head, we have an area called Mitchellville, and Mitchellville was a first freedman village, where after the Union Army ran the Confederates off, they actually had this area here where it was a self-sustained village, where we had our own hospitals and police stations and stores. And I mean, it was almost like an experiment. Well, it was an experiment to see if the formerly enslaved people could survive, and we've been thriving here ever since. And it's sad that you say you've been coming here for so long, because the history of the Gullah culture is always, in my opinion, been isolated and kind of kept to the side. It never really has been expressed and given the type of acknowledgement that I think it deserves.
So with 2 to 3 million tourists that come here every year, they're probably no different than me, unaware, ignorant about all that went on, right? Is that what you're saying? Because
Yes.
no one as a tourist would go visit Mitchell Field, in the old days, I guess. So I want to ask you then, I know your grandmother was born here as well, so that's like a really, the whole generations that you've been coming here. What is it that led you to do, what is the mission that you're after at this point?
Well, coming to Hilton Head, I started living in Hilton Head with my grandmother in 97. I went to college in Charleston. Well, let me back up. My mom moved us out of New Jersey when I was 13 years old and relocated us to Hampton, Virginia. So I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, but summers has always been Hilton Head. So when I left Hampton, I went to Charleston Southern University. And again, the goal was always to get closer to my grandmother. I always wanted to be next to her. My grandmother used to own a, we call juke joint. It was a place.
What is the juke joint?
Down a dirt road, and you only knew about it if you knew somebody who knew about it. And it would be a place where they would have music and dancing and food. She had motorcades that would come in from all across Tennessee, Atlanta, just coming to the Black Beach. This location was on the beach. It's the name is still here, Burke's Beach. That's my family, the Burkes, and my grandmother actually married a Burke. And so it was a fun and interesting experience because Burke's Hideaway was the name of the place, was where the elder folks went. So they would have the jukeboxes there, and they would have the old oldies but goodies playing all the time. So that was the life that I grew up with, and experienced. Yes. So my grandmother was actually born in Sea Pines in Harbortown and Braddock's Point. So everybody knows the lighthouse for Sea Pines Golf Course. So that was the area where my grandmother was actually born at.
So go back to the mission as to what led you to whatever the mission is. So describe what is it that you're trying to do or have been trying to do for these years?
Well, just being here on Hilton Head, I'm a licensed real estate agent, and just working with the local community, I decided that I wanted to open up a business. And after kind of doing some research, I was able to find out that there hasn't been a local native to be able to open up a new business in new buildings on their property since the town of Hilton Head was incorporated, since 1983. So this became a challenge for me. Why is this happening? Culturally, we lived on a portion of our property and had businesses on the other portion. Lived in the back, had businesses on the front. There was a booklet that circulated around that had all the native island businesses on it. So today, when you drive around the island, you don't see those businesses. So I decided to open up a business on Hilton Head on my property, and the goal was to have a location. I didn't want to be anybody's boss. Just have a location for small entrepreneurs to be able to come and set up almost like a pop-up shop with pop-up shops with an anchor food truck, on the property to get people in. So have small entrepreneurs either doing their cooking or
just around food.
Sweet baskets, yeah.
It's largely around food. It's all about food.
Yes,
then.
food. Yeah, but not only food. Whatever their culture, whatever they like to do in a form of expression. It could be jewelry. It can be sweetgrass baskets.
I see.
Just a variety of things.
But all that you've been through and the challenges you've been through since 1997, so the mission was to, open up the ideas for opportunities and entrepreneurs within the community so that they can rise. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
In terms of your mission, and what turned you on to that, other than, you saw them suffer, or you saw them the fact that they were always segregated and not given the benefits of this of what's going on
Well,
there?
it's the fact that, you know, people can't afford storefronts.
Mm,
So basically giving them a place that they could come and open up a small business and then target the tourist to come in and experience and cater to, you know, these small entrepreneurs. The hardest thing here in Hilton Head is land retention.
mm,
So the families have to be able to pay their taxes because, of course, the taxes continue to rise. We're in a high
mm.
tourist designated area, and just being able to just survive and sustain
Mm.
has been the goal. But then we hit a roadblock.
Yes.
we
Talk about
yes
those.
we hit a yes we hit a roadblock with the local municipality. Now again, when I spoke to the elders in the community about previously having small businesses, you know, it was almost as though well, it is as though the roadblock came in with the town, with
Mm,
the ordinances and zoning, which basically has been a hindrance to the native Gullah community. We're
mm,
surrounded by plantations, gated
mm.
communities with their rules
Yes.
and their regulations, and those regulations have been imposed on us. So it literally took me almost 7 years to get an open air sales venue
Mm,
establishment open on Hilton Head. It's unbelievable what I had to go through, but it really comes down to perseverance and challenging the system, you know, and calling it like we see it, like we saw it, and what we were experiencing. And I think the system, the government, did not like that we were making not only local attention, but national attention. We were bringing
mm,
national attention to what was happening
mhm,
to this Gullah culture on this world-class resort destination.
mm,
Like I said, it took 7 years to get to the point, but we broke a mold. We really
mm,
broke a mold. Now we have other small business owners who are opening up small businesses on their property.
mm,
But it was challenging. It was definitely challenging, and without the support of my wife and my two children, I
mm,
think I would have probably given up a long time ago
mm,
because it was ties to troublemaker in the community. You
mm,
know, even though what we were saying was true about, you know, land loss and zoning restrictions and ordinance restrictions, I felt like the native elder community did not want to engage the government. They
mm.
didn't want to make it waves. So it truly came down to standing alone. I mean, I had some support from some family members, but I knew that there was a goal and I knew that there was a purpose behind it. What it
Mm,
really took was me understanding and realizing that it wasn't the government targeting me personally.
mhm.
They were targeting the community as a
Yeah.
whole.
Right.
You know, so that was it took some time for me to realize that. And then
Mm.
once I realized that, I understood that it's bigger than me, it's bigger than Ty. There's a purpose here, and whatever challenges we have to endure, we're gonna continue going forward, and we succeeded.
Yes. So I'm going to post in the show notes at least the article which sort of summarizes what you went through, and there was a court case and all this stuff. And congratulations on the win.
Many court
uh,
cases.
many
You know
court
what,
cases.
Raju? What was really sad is when I reached out to local attorneys,
Mhm.
multiple, you wouldn't believe how many times I told my story. Multiple attorneys would tell me that you have a lot of issues here, and you're in the right, but we have to live here, and we're not going to go up against the municipality. So
Mm.
that was what I felt that was sad is they acknowledged that the town was treating me wrong, and not only treating me wrong, the bigger picture was, and still is, they were treating the native community wrong,
Right.
and no one would would take up that fight. It took a long time before we actually finally got somebody.
Well, leadership is about, having a mission, whether obviously you believe in your heart that you're right and you're doing it for a bigger purpose. And I think that is the key. And for me, the learning, just getting to know you these months that I've been here, it's like, I just feel so connected to the purpose that you have, and everything you do is so sacred and so important. So I'm just, this is what entrepreneurship is about. It doesn't matter the money, it doesn't matter whatever, right? Success definition is not about money, but the fact that there has been such, and this has gone on in the world, as far as the distinction and the diversity not being respected, and things just go in one direction, and then wherever the money is, that drives the equation. So I don't want to get into sociology, religion, money, politics. So that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to really, for those listening, to don't feel oppressed in life. But, there is always going to be power imbalance and things like that. But, whatever drives you in your heart, if you lead with your heart, you'll figure out a purpose that helps you. And, we all learn from traumas, and turning points in our lives come from those challenges, because that becomes the path. Because, whatever you've been instilled with to move forward, that's also divine, and you have to respect that and pursue it.
Exactly. And, just because there's a bump in the road, don't let that stop you. You keep going. We started with trying to get local media coverage, and that didn't happen. They would always twist the story around. Yeah. So we actually sought national attention. We had different groups that kind of came in, and just kind of really put some national pressure on the town, highlighting the injustices that was going on. We had a New York Times best-selling author came down and kind of highlighted what was happening here in Hilton Head, featured our establishment. The New York Times picked up on that. And that was a shock for the town of Hilton Head Island. Here's little Ty, his story is in the New York Times. Soledad O'Brien, they featured a documentary here, and we're on that as well. Yep. So just taking whatever avenue that we could to get the word out, and keep our name in their face. Make them remember who we are. You stopped us for so long, and just different levels, and now. Being a part of there was a federal redistricting lawsuit for our congressional district, and I'm the plaintiff in that, along with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the South Carolina NAACP, and the ACLU. So once again, bringing the attention to Hilton Head. Yes. And I have to say, I've been in and out of courts. I like to follow cases and things of that nature, but I was able to testify before a 3-judge panel, and be able to tell what's happening here, in Hilton Head and throughout the Gullah-Geechee corridor. So that definitely keeps the pressure. We have a saying that they love the culture but not the people when it comes down to the Gullah-Geechee people. They have gotten enough information that they technically won't need us to be around. They can still tell our story without us being here. So we want to prevent that. We want to be here. We want to continue to be here.
So in the documentary that you referred to, which I watched with such shock as well as admiration, the one thing that people know about Hilton Head, well, one of the many things, but one of the big ones, is the Heritage Golf Classic, right? The golf tournament that happens every year, right after the Masters in Augusta. So in the documentary, you talked about the 18th hole and what that means to you. Can you just touch on it very briefly? Because that is what literally, I haven't gone to play golf there, and I just don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't know, and I think it's designed that way. But the 18th hole, there's my family cemetery down there
Oh,
at the 18th, and I mean, if you drive down there, it's so real. You know, when you get down there and you see these buildings, you know, basically right on top of the cemetery, and culturally, with our culture, we buried the dead close to the water so the souls can get back to Africa.
huh.
And when you look out and you see that 18th hole,
Mhm.
we know that the cemetery is there. I
Mm.
mean, we know that. So it's I try. I mean, it's difficult. It really is difficult. And if the golfers were to only know that there was a cemetery there, I mean, some of them may not care, but someone I think some of them, you know, may show the respect. And
Mm.
what would I would love to see? I would love to see um, an event such as the Heritage Golf Tournament, and just maybe one year everybody stops at the 17th, just out
Yeah,
of respect for the dead that's there. I mean, that would be an amazing
tribute, I
achievement.
guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe I mean this is a way to. I'm just one of the little guys here trying to help get that out because that's important. When I've heard that from that documentary, and I think you should continue to push for that, and we'll just get the word out. It's important. I mean, you've done it in many ways, but this is it hits close to home for people who are golfers here and they come here all the time, and it's
But the question, Raju, is, you know, how does something like that happen? You know, there's studies and, you know, groups that have come, especially here in Hilton Head, in archived different structures or historical buildings and historical areas, and then you look at that list and you go out there today and you find, you know, buildings and, you know,
yeah,
homes and stuff. How does that happen when it's already been documented that there's some type of historical significant structure or activity or something in that particular area? And so it's heartbreaking to see that the government allows that to happen, and I think it's going to take the Congress, you know, up in the State House to propose bills that can actually help protect these historical locations and
yeah,
structures. When I look at the U.S. Congress says that we are so important that they dedicate a whole corridor to us,
yes,
but they don't help to implement sustainable economic development opportunities or avenues for economic development, or losing land based on taxes. We say put your money where your mouth is. You know, it's good to say, okay, we love these people, we love this culture of these people, but you have to implement something to help protect them.
yep. Well, maybe we take this offline, and I try to help you in whatever way I can. I mean, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot has been done, but not everything has ever been done, right? We always
It,
keep going.
it all comes down to awareness. I mean, people
Yes,
just don't know. Like you say, you've been
that's right.
coming here, you didn't know.
I didn't know.
And there's a lot of people who live in the gated communities who have been here and still don't know, you know,
Yep,
because it's out of sight, out of mind, you know.
yep.
So we got to just make them aware.
So let's talk about switch gears to food, and then we'll talk a little bit
Yes.
about leadership lessons in life. So, what's with the food? It's Gullah food that everybody not wants to talk about these days. They go, well, they want to talk about Gullah food, and they don't talk about the Gullah community. So I think we've touched the community. So you have your establishment is called Beautiful Island Square on the island.
Yes.
I have been there and have had the blessing to meet your family, your grandmother, your children, your wife, one amazing wife, Lisa from Argentina. And tell us about what's this thing about food?
Yes. Well, Beautiful Island Square, it's called Beautiful Island Square Authentic Cultural Experience. So that's what we want to give people. And just a history about Beautiful Island Square is My name is Taiwan, which the island of Taiwan used to be Formosa, which means beautiful island. So that's where the name
Oh,
came from, Beautiful Island Square.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So and it was interesting to find out that Taiwan was once Formosa, which means beautiful island. So that it just stuck. It sticks with me.
Okay.
So the goal is to just give people an experience. When we first started out, the goal we had a group, a local partnership, Gullah-Geechee Catering was their name, who was going to be the anchor business in Beautiful Island Square. But after the back and forth with the town, they have opened up another business somewhere else. So now it's just catering to. I mean, we have different different cultures out there. Actually, we have a truck there now from Venezuela. We had previously had a group from Jamaica, and now we have someone from Mexico that's in there. You yourself popped up a couple of times with the Indian, and we're still trying to get a local Gullah entrepreneur in there to come and run the business. When people come, they want that. They want to have the local cooking, the local cuisine, and just that local experience. I mean, you can go anywhere and eat at one of the fancy franchises, but I mean, our place is just real. It's down to earth. It's open. Picnic tables and tents, and you can come out and just experience the different cultures. I mean, and that's what we want. We want people to come in and see where we are in our community and experience. We have a huge Hispanic population here on the island, so we just want to give people an opportunity to engage with us as well.
Well, I love being there, as you know. I've done it twice, as you said, with Indian food. Fits right between Venezuelan and Jamaican there.
Yes.
Heck, if I get inspired, I might just, learn Gullah cooking myself. What the heck?
Oh, we need it. It's crazy. We need it.
Yeah, I think it's been a great experience getting to know you and working with you. So, this podcast is about leadership and entrepreneurship and being bold and conscious. It's called Bold Conscious Connections or Bold Conscious Leadership. So for people who are navigating the uncertainties of today, leaving aside specific community issues, but from your own learning and all that you've been through, what advice would you give to someone who's, yes, there's an economy, the uncertainty, the recession's coming, the wars are still continuing, but there's uncertainty every time in life. But this seems to be a year coming up that's like no other. What advice would you give people navigating uncertainties of 2023, Ty?
I would say believe and invest in yourself, and don't let anyone deter you from your goal. It took 7 years for me to open up a business. But I believed in that business, and I knew that by me opening my business, it will break a mold, and it will show other small entrepreneurs that they can do it too. They can invest in themselves. They can follow their dream. Like I said, my goal was never to be anyone's boss, but just to give other entrepreneurs an avenue, because you never know where it will take you. You never know. So just giving that position and opening that door to other entrepreneurs, that's because I know we need to be able to keep our land. And I mean, in a place like Hilton Head, with millions of people who come every year, there's an avenue there that we need to be able to tap into. Everybody who comes and they vacation. It's not all about the beach and golf and tennis and bicycle paths. They can come in now and they can experience something authentic. So that's what it. Follow your dream. That's what it really comes down to. And no matter how long it takes, you continue pressing forward. we have a belief. I believe that, God doesn't put anything in front of us that we can't handle.
Yeah.
That simultaneously with heartache, there's ease. So the moment that you know that you have an obstacle in front of you, there should be a sense, if you believe, there should be a sense that it's a bump in the road,
Yep.
and you just have to, overcome it and just keep moving forward. I mean, that's my personal belief,
Mhm.
that you can, if you want to, and you have the will to continue moving forward.
Beautiful. And what comes through for me always about you is that you're so humble and you're very grounded, and it keeps you. I mean, everybody I know loves you. I walk into that Walmart with happen to run into you and your wife, and it's like, hi Ty, hi Ty. I'm like, wow, look at this guy. Everybody seems
Yes.
to know you. So
Yeah.
nothing that all that you've done and the fights that you've had to overcome can come without you being bold in life. So we're talking about bold and conscious. What does it mean when I say bold to you?
Immediately is confronting. For me, what was bold was confronting the local municipality, and I think you mentioned being humble. It was more. I think it was more surprising to them that I wasn't irate and yelling and screaming. It was always, I kept my composure and I stuck to the facts. And that took a lot
Mm.
from, people would come to me and say, I don't know how you do it. I mean, you've been through so much and you know what they're doing, but you can just go there and you can read your statement, and just walk away with so much ease, and come back the next month and do it again. And I had someone one time come to me and said, like, it isn't going to make a difference. You're just
Mm.
repeating the same thing, and nobody's listening, and they can care less. But eventually, it got to who it needed to get to, and we
Mhm.
made that change. So
Yeah.
somebody had to submit and say, okay, this is wrong,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have to do something. And I mean, they can't deny the facts, and that's what it really
Mm.
came down to.
Yeah.
They can try to overlook them as much as possible, but
Sure.
being bold enough to confront them, and call them out on the injustices. Yeah.
So in my book that you've read, we define bold as being decisive, ambitious, being convinced of what you believe in, which you've touched on all of them, humble, and heart centered. So, is there anything with that resonates more, or is there another thing you would add to your own definition of bold?
I think being heart centered. I really I would stress the being heart centered, because
Mm.
once it's in there, and you believe, you have belief in your belief, per
Yes.
se, you know, you nothing should stop you. Um, uh, just believe in yourself. It really comes down to believe in self, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy. There'll always be negativity around you, but for me, it really took, my family, my wife, my kids. So many times I wanted to give up, and I mean, literally tears coming down my eyes. Saying,
Mm.
okay, I give up. I give up. I can't win. I can't. They're, we can't fight the system.
Yeah.
And Lisa would say, okay, you finish, dry the tears and get back out there. It's like, you got a job. There's something that you need to do. And my daughter Geneva, came in and said, well, maybe I'll just submit and just move the buildings like they want me to. Daddy, if
Mm.
you move it, we'll move it back. So that's the inspiration. And my son, I think he at the time was 7 or 8 years old, and he came to me one evening before going to bed and said, "Don't worry, Dad. Everything that's in the dark will come to the light." It's
Wow.
like at
What
7 or 8 years
wisdom.
old. Yeah, and
So
I'm listening
where
to
does that come
this.
from?
Exactly. Where does that come from at 8 years old? And I think it was just a low time in my life that,
Wow.
here it is. I'm up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning studying and just trying to prepare. What's the next avenue to try to get justice? And yeah, it really came down to them being there for me and saying, "We support you. We're here, and there's a task that you need to do, and it's bigger than you."
Love
Realizing,
conquers all. That's love.
yes,
And
yes,
and I know your wife is so spiritual, and I think that's just, I'm sure she has a lot to do with this too. That's amazing.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, there's nothing a man can't do without having support right there from his wife. I
So the second word is
sorry.
conscious. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So conscious, you're a very conscious person. I know that. What does it mean to you to be conscious, and what practices do you have every day that allow you to be conscious, if you will?
Well, the first thing I do when I get up is as soon as I put my feet on the ground, I say thank you. I say thank you to God. I have another day to go out and make a difference, make a change, whatever it is, and just being aware that I've been given another opportunity, to make a difference, and that's I think it really comes down to that is knowing that there's a purpose and that you have a purpose. Um, yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
that's how. Yeah.
Love it. All right. So last question before I let you go. We don't take anything for granted in life, right? As you say.
Exactly.
So the thing is that I always learn a lot from you. I always feel uplifted talking to you. Always feel like this is real in life, what you go through, and I'm honored to call you my friend. So I appreciate you
Definitely.
very much. So I don't take anything for granted. In that same vein, is there anything in this conversation that we just had that you might have discovered about yourself? I know you've been through many courts, etc., but this is just a conversation we're having.
Um, Something that I've discovered about myself. Uh, it's hard to say because every day I feel it's something. It's a learning experience, um, and sometimes I forget things that I've been through, and the determination. And my wife, she always kind of reminds me of things. And sometimes I guess you forget the negative. You try to forget the negative sometimes, but you use that to move yourself forward. Um, but just the experience of being able to express and talk about things that I've gone through. I'm hoping that it will enlighten somebody to follow their dream and make a difference in their life and in others' lives. And once you realize that the journey is bigger than yourself, you know that there's a purpose behind it, and it really helps keep you moving forward. It really does. And sometimes just talking about it, definitely helps. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience the trial that I went through.
Yes.
But it was a growing. I feel like I grew in the last 7 years. Sadly, I feel like I lost time as well because I feel like during these challenges, and I say this to my wife, that it kind of took away from family time,
Of course.
because I was, spending so much time, reading and studying and challenging and town meetings and, everything that I felt was the priority. And the priority was for me was getting this establishment open and breaking
Yeah.
the mold. But there was a sacrifice for my family, at the
Sure.
same time. And I appreciate them, and I definitely express that to them a lot, that, what I've gone through is to better them, better us, and better the community. And I appreciate them understanding that and supporting me on that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to say to people that maybe they don't know about you, or just end on a note where I think you've said
Well, if you
many beautiful things.
come to Hilton Head, swing by Beautiful Island Square. You can follow us on Facebook. It's called Beautiful Island Square here on Hilton Head, and tell me that you saw me on Bold and Conscious Connections, with Raju, and come by and introduce yourself, and just kind of spread the word. Let people know that, the Gullah community is still here, and, reach out, come by and find out about the history of the Gullah community, and, if there's a business, go out and cater to them, and just let people know if they're coming to Hilton Head, swing by and check out Beautiful Island Square. We would love the support.
Beautiful. All right. On that note, Ty, thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure we'll be in touch, and there's a lot more in person to talk about. Thanks again.
I
Take
need
care.
some more food. Time to eat.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Hold on.